I think when it comes to taking care of your body and people kind of avoiding alcohol and these other things these days, like, a $7 matcha doesn't sound as crazy anymore.
Welcome to Taking Care of Lady Business, where we get real about what it takes to succeed, whether it's in business, life, or both. I'm talking to game-changing and visionary women who've broken barriers, built empires, and redefined success on their own terms. They'll share their strategies, secrets, and the no BS advice you need to rise to the top. I'm your host, Jennifer Justice, also known as JJ. Let's get into it. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Taking Care of Lady Business. I'm Jennifer Justice. Today, we have Hannah Habes. She is the founder and the CMO, although it's Chief Matcha Officer of Matchaful. Hi, Hannah. How are you?
I am great. Thanks for having me, Jennifer.
Oh, you are welcome. I'm very excited. If anybody out there has a tween to teen girl, you know that matcha is a big part of their life right now. So it's like I'm a little hero in front of for my daughter today. So I'm excited.
When did she start drinking matcha?
Her interest was definitely within the last year. I have no idea how she found out about it. Wants the whisk, wants to try all the places, you know what I mean? All the different flavors, etc., and likes to make her own. So I don't know. You tell me, when did this whole tween obsession of matcha come up?
I love that. I think it's interesting because I think, so many people I speak to, older generations are like not really into matcha, and like, especially like my parents, for instance, I like can't convince them to drink matcha for my life. So, but I think when I meet, other parents, like the number one thing I hear is like, my child drinks matcha. Yeah. And I have kids, but they're very, very young. I have 3 little ones. And so they know the word matcha. They know what matcha is, but they've never really drank it yet. And I'm kind of waiting. But I think like I think it's hard to change, your palate, right? Or your sort of tastes, desires, when you are a little bit older and more mature. But I think when you are younger and sort of more exposed and open to trying things and sort of adapting your palate, I think matcha, I think people really enjoy matcha when they first try it when they're younger. And
how did you get into it? Let's start there. How about that?
So I was, how old was I when I first probably tasted matcha? I was right out of, so I had graduated from college, probably during the worst like economic times, 2009, and was just lucky to get a job. I got a job with PepsiCo right out of school and was consuming a lot of Quaker Chewy bars, Gatorade, everything that I sort of grew up eating and drinking, right? And I was excited to join this brand that I kind of felt aligned with at first, based on sort of, how I grew up and the food I consumed. And, I was really very much on the go. I was in a sales job. I was in my car a lot. And I was just consuming processed food after processed food. And it started to take a toll on me. And I think, I remember just feeling so much from constant consumption of these like overly processed foods. I was feeling super low energy. I was having really bad digestive issues. I got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, where the doctor was like, "You are too young to have this."
Oh my God.
And just all of these things, hair loss, like all of these things that I think I was also contributing to, just stress and being on the go and not really taking care of my body. I felt like my body just wasn't able to keep up with like the crap I was feeding it. And so I really kind of changed. I mean, I really went through this like personal transformation. I kind of said, I need to stop eating this crap. And I was working out of an office.
Can I just stop you right there? Like how long, because you were just out of college, right? Like, so you're like 22. How long of a period of time is this?
I mean, it was a several like year transformation, right? Like in college, it took like a couple years, probably working for Pepsi, like 2 or 3 years for me to kind of realize, okay, everything is like my whole health. I just felt awful.
Yeah.
But it wasn't overnight, right? Like it took a couple years for me to really start listening to my body and start like pinpointing sort of what was happening and trying to, eliminate those things and see if my body would improve. So yeah, I started realizing, okay, like, let me take this out of my diet. Let me start. I had moved out of the office at PepsiCo and was working remotely. And I think it was actually kind of a saving grace because I wasn't constantly exposed to this like office food, which was just like, all the PepsiCo products. And I started cooking for myself. I started going for runs. I started just eating so much cleaner. And that transformation felt a lot faster, where all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I feel so much better. And around that same time, this was probably, 15 years ago, I received this little ritual set of matcha from Japan. My partner at the time was traveling back and forth from Japan for work. And I want to say this was like 2011, 2012. And I just remember whisking this matcha that I'd never tried, never really heard about, right? He had just kind of mentioned it in passing and I was like, ooh, I should try this. It sounds interesting. I had always loved green tea. And so I got this little set and started whisking matcha, and it was love at first sip. I just fell in love with this beautiful ritual, this beautiful green, vibrant product, and really the way it made me feel. I think at this point in my life, I was started to actually listen to my body. So matcha sort of met me at the right time, and it was a little bit of this epiphany of, wow, why does this product not exist here in the US? You couldn't find matcha back in 2012, 2013 in any coffee shop.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It's not that long ago, right? Yeah.
No, not that long ago. And so
So let's start with what is matcha in case people don't know? Like, what is it? And, why was it mostly in Japan?
Yeah. Matcha was really born in Japan, and it's a huge part of Japanese culture, of their heritage. It's been drunk in Japan for thousands of years, and it dates back to Buddhist monks drinking matcha to help them focus with meditation, to samurai warriors drinking matcha to help them focus during battle. It really has this beautiful symbolism of a wellness ingredient, a very mindful ingredient and beverage in Japan. And that really resonated with me because for me, I was so sick of this food industry and this food system, there was no transparency. There was so much crap in our food. And here, this beautiful, beautiful, very simple, pure ingredient kind of changed my life. And so, it's been around for a very, very long time, but I just don't think it didn't really have the awareness that it has obviously now here in the US. And
what is it made of? What is it exactly?
So matcha is a green tea. It is a green tea that's been ground into a super, super fine powder. The difference between matcha and sort of traditional sencha in Japan, which is the traditional green tea in Japan, is that it's actually shade grown. So it's grown under these like big sort of burlap tarps. And 20 days sort of before the matcha leaves are harvested, they're called tencha. Before it's matcha, it's tencha. And so the tencha plant is unshaded. So it's, they have to put these big burlap tarps over the leaves, and that slows down photosynthesis. It causes the plant to absorb more chlorophyll, more amino acids. So with matcha, there are added benefits to traditional green tea, not just because you're ingesting the entire leaf, right? Because it's ground into this, micro fine powder, but there's also these benefits of added chlorophyll, which is naturally detoxifying, more antioxidants, very powerful antioxidants that are in matcha, and L-theanine, which is that amino acid that comes from the shading component. And that amino acid, when it combines with caffeine, particularly L-theanine is prominent in matcha, and people take supplements for L-theanine.
Yeah.
But it's naturally occurring in matcha. So when that L-theanine combines with the caffeine, it slows down the absorption of the caffeine in your body, and it gives you a more sort of sustained energy. So it's amazing.
And it's a low dose of caffeine though, right?
It depends how much you sort of use.
Yeah.
It's really about how much you use. I think I will say, and I think this is very true, it hits different. It hits different from coffee. Like, when you drink coffee, it's like all of a sudden you get this burst of energy. I just feel like your cortisol levels go up. Like, in some ways it's nice if you need that, but I don't think a lot of us really need that. I think it's nice to have this more, a lot of us are at our desks most of the day, or just need more focus and like a little bit of, to be sustained. And that's what matcha does. And I think that's also why matcha is really rising in popularity too.
Right. So, because it doesn't give you like that jittery feel. It's just like this sustained level of energy. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't really need that much. Like, I sort of at a maximum will drink 2 cups a day, because it really does. It lasts. It doesn't, you don't kind of feel like you have to keep going back for more. So
are there any negative benefits of it?
Not really that I can think of. I mean, green tea is a diuretic, right? So, and naturally, you might have to pee more, and,
right.
But otherwise, no, I really think it's a beautiful, I think about it almost as a supplement in some ways.
Right.
I think
L-theanine is a game changer though. I've used it too. And it's great for anxiety, et cetera. So let's talk about how you first started Matchaful and like why you decided, like, what was that connection that you're like, wait, now I need to start something, even though like no one knew of matcha at the time.
Yeah. I mean, before I sort of started Matchaful, I just wanted to learn as much as I could. I was sourcing and tasting, like I tasted over 100 varieties of matcha from Japan, all over Japan, because really matcha is grown in several different regions, and based on the terroir, the flavor is different. There's different nuances, the grade. It's a little bit like wine, and it's very nuanced. And the more I sort of dove into it, the more I loved. And I was importing matcha from different parts of Japan, all before I started Matchaful. And I was like I actually moved to New York. And, my mom, when I told her, I was like, Mom, I want to quit my day job. I gotta start this matcha business. And, my mother, she had worked for Nike for 25 years, 30, retired with Nike. And, here she is with a daughter who has this like, good, stable job, and is like, I want to quit my job and start this matcha business. And my mom was just like, that's amazing. But she's like, why don't you just like do this as a side hustle, keep your day job. That was actually really good advice. And maybe not the right advice for everybody, but for me, it was good advice because I really bootstrapped the company in the beginning, and my salary helped pay for the business. And I think I was very naive about how much money it actually takes to start and run a business. And so I moved to New York. I was importing matcha. I started by taking it into coffee shops and just trying to get it on their menus. I really think I was maybe first boots on the ground in New York. This was like 2012, 2013 in New York. I had my backpack full of matcha. I was biking around. I was just trying to like get people to bring it to their menus. I had so many coffee shops be like, no way, this is a huge distraction from our coffee business. We don't see how we can bring this into the menu. And I had one coffee shop that was like, all right, we'll try this. We'll add it to like our chalkboard menu and we'll see how it does. And
at that point, did you have your own brand of matcha?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, not even then. I was literally just like trying to prove the concept.
Right.
And
got it.
So we wrote it, he wrote it up on the chalkboard menu, And every week I'd kind of go back and check in and see how it was going, maybe more than that. But every time I went back, I just remember like him being like, yeah, like it's going well. He's like, it's selling better than any of our teas on our menu. It's doing like almost as good as coffee on our menu, like some of our coffee drinks. And even he was, I think, a little bit surprised. And I think, in a coffee shop, right, there's this green drink floating around. So it's kind of this natural marketing tool where people were sort of asking,
like, what is this?
That? Yeah. I don't see that in a coffee shop. And so, yeah, little by little, like every week I'd go back and he was just selling more and more. And I think I had opened, throughout this process, right, I was starting kind of building Matchaful and forming my LLC and creating the business. And I created Matchaful in officially November 2015. So we're actually coming up on 10 years. And and I think I had like maybe 30 or 40 wholesale customers. And I was like, okay, I can quit my day job. And I did. It was still very, very hard. I actually had to like move home to Portland and kind of run Matchaful from New York. And I was flying to Japan to try to like meet with more suppliers, but I wound up actually I was like trying to get funding from almost anywhere, right? I was like just trying to get a little bit of funding into the business, and I got accepted to this program called Techstars, which Techstars, they're pretty big. But like, here I am with my matcha business and not really a tech company at all, but the managing director of Techstars, was a big matcha fan. He's like, I love matcha. And like, you have these wholesale customers, these coffee shops, that's repeatable revenue. Like, let's get you into the program. And so
where are your wholesale customers from? Mostly New York City, or where are they?
They are all over the US.
But no, with those original ones, like the 30 original.
Oh, original. Yes. New York. Yeah.
All New York.
Original.
Okay. Yeah.
So
we get into Techstars.
Got into Techstars, and that was an amazing experience because I was constantly like pitching my business and just getting experience pitching, right? Which is like a whole new skill and muscle that you have to exercise as a founder. And so even though like no one wanted to invest in my company at that point, like I think it was just really good practice. And
so those whole time you're bootstrapping.
Yeah. I mean, until I sort of I did get like a small check from Techstars. So they were really my first investors into the business. Right. And so, and that allowed me to just pay for more inventory. And I think I brought on like one or two, like sort of part-time people to help me, one full-time person. Yeah. So, and then sort of fast forward, I think Techstars was an amazing experience. And I started, from that experience, I think the big thing I learned I received some really good feedback from an investor who was like, you need to own the experience that people have with your product. Because at that point I was only doing like wholesale and e-commerce. Yeah. And he was like, you need to own the experience. And I had always like dreamt about a cafe, right? But I kept thinking, no one's going to come. No one knows what matcha is. But I think I agreed with him. I was like, I felt that in my gut too, that was the right move. But I think, sometimes you just need to hear it in addition of like, you got to own the experience. And,
of course.
He didn't even say like open cafes, but I think in my mind, I'm like, I need to make this cafe thing happen because I'm dreaming about it. And that is the way that I can actually own the experience that people have with our product.
Who is the person who said it? It was like a mentor, somebody from Techstars?
It was just like an investor that I was pitching to.
Okay, got it. Did he invest?
No. But it was very helpful. I appreciate that guidance. And so I started, so the first thing I did after Techstars was I actually did this coffee festival, and we popped up at this coffee festival and with a matcha stand, and we stood out like a sore thumb. We had lines. It was incredible. I mean, we had a line longer than any other coffee shop stand at this coffee festival of just people wanting to try the product. And at the end of the festival, I had this coffee shop owner come up to me and say, hey, we don't know anything about what you're doing. But we love how you're sourcing matcha. At this point I had started working with this family farmer, and I'd love to share more about sort of the sourcing side because I've done so much work to source this incredible product. But I had pictures of our farmer, Hattori-san, and I, who I've been working with for 8 years, like on the, pictures on the sides of our booth. And, I think in some ways I was kind of thinking like a third wave coffee shop, right? I was just like, I want to bring transparency. I want to be really proud. At this point I had, had done a lot of sourcing trips. When I started Matchaful, I, had started working with this farmer who was just incredible and really was very unique within the matcha landscape in Japan. And he was, doing things very sustainably. So, I had this incredible story that I was telling, and these coffee shop owners were like, we love this. We would love to invite you to pop up. We have a coffee shop that we're not actually using right now. It's like next door to one of our coffee shops. You could pop up there with a matcha, matcha concept, and just pay a percentage of revenue for rent. And it was like a dream come true. It was like, I was very familiar with it. It was in Dumbo, Brooklyn.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
It was right near the water. So we launched in I think it was December of 2017. And, it was like a brutally cold winter. It was supposed to be a 2-month pop-up in Dumbo. And the first several months were slow just because it was by the water, is frigid. But we wound up being there for 18 months. And, I remember actually at the end of those 18 months, it was an incredible opportunity, right? I'm so grateful. But they sat me down, the coffee shop owners, and they said, we want to buy your business, or we need to kick you out because you're stealing our coffee sales.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. And I was pregnant with
this problem, right?
I was pregnant with my first child, and I'm like, and they're like, aren't you going to be slowing down your business because, you're having a baby? And I'm like, no. I'm like, guess again. And so, yeah, I, clearly got out of that situation. I'm very grateful for that, for, what it brought for our business. But, and then I kind of continued to do pop-ups. I was very scrappy for, the next couple of years. And we had a pop-up on Spring and Lafayette, and it was in sort of the heart of Soho. And we had Tyra Banks and Coldplay, Chris Martin from Coldplay. We had, Emily Weiss from all of these incredible people coming in and trying our concept and kind of putting us on the map. In fact, Emily Weiss actually came in and was like, I love this concept. She's like, I want to bring this to our office. And so we actually did a matcha cafe inside of the Glossier office for a couple months. But we, that really helped a lot. It actually helped secure my first angel round of investors. So, but yeah, we kind of started just very scrappy.
So when did you first raise then? What year was that?
2019.
So, okay. So it's just been 6 years. So you spent the first 4 years, 3 years, 2015, and 4 years, bootstrapping, figuring out concept, et cetera, so it's an overnight success really is, 10-year thing.
Yeah. 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 And I think, I actually am glad I didn't raise in the beginning because I don't think I would have spent the money in the way that I wanted to. And I think that's really important. I think sometimes you're like, I want to raise money based off this idea. And it's I think it's better to get started. And if you can test it or try it and just see if there's some momentum, right? I think for me, it was always I've got to prove that this can work before I'm going to raise money. And I also think that's a little bit of my female sort of bias and, sort of confidence or needing to sort of feel confident that okay, I have this concept that's actually, you can see it and you can see the numbers and it's working. It's not I think for so long, I didn't have the confidence because I'm I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if this is okay. And so, so I raised and really just raised from really good people, all just customers of people who came in and were just passionate about what we were doing. So that was also really nice.
And what was the point of the raise at that point? To do actual locations?
Yeah, to launch more locations. Of course, COVID happened in 2020. So I actually raised the money in 2019 and kind of had to we were at a little bit of a standstill as a business. We tried to deliver, deliver bottled matcha deliveries to our customers and tried to just make it through COVID. And we signed our first permanent cafe lease on Mulberry and Spring, and we still have that one today. It's 5 years old.
Oh, wow. And then, so when you were like during COVID and stuff, and to this day, can you buy, matcha powder, the Matchaful matcha powder? Did you have that at that time, or is that something that you're doing?
We did, yeah. So even before, right, I started these cafes, I think what was so important to me was sourcing a product and having a product that I was innately like very connected to. And so I started traveling back and forth from Japan for work and just meeting with different suppliers, and really wanted to, because what happens in Japan a lot of times, and really it's getting a little bit different now, but when I was just starting my matcha business, it wasn't easy to connect directly with the farmers. You could connect with these big tea distributors, but there was no transparency into like who was growing the product. And so you could, buy from these tea distributors that were, sourcing from several different farmers with little to no transparency of where the product was actually coming from. And, the whole reason I started this was like, I want to be, I'm deeply connected to this product, to the health benefits, but also I want to be really connected with the source and the farming and feel really good about the product that I'm sourcing. So I was, through many serendipitous ways, connected with our farmer in Japan, and his name is Hattori-san, and I've been working with him for 8 years. And he, I visited his farm. I actually met him in the US at like a tea expo in Las Vegas, and he doesn't speak any English. We shared this like beautiful cup of matcha, and I think there was just this connection, even though it was unspoken between us. And he invited me back to Japan to visit his farm, and he is
Where
such
is it in Japan?
So it's in Shizuoka, Japan, which is south of Mount Fuji, near Mount Fuji, south of Tokyo. Mm-hmm. It's about 2 hours south of Tokyo, and it's a beautiful region. It's actually known for growing sencha. So sencha is obviously a big green tea in Japan, but it's declining. And there's all these abandoned farms in Shizuoka because that's like the main sencha producing region. So our farmer had the foresight. He's a 4th generation tea farmer, and his family mostly grew sencha, but he saw that there was this uptick in demand for tencha, which is what matcha comes from. So he started converting his sencha farms to tencha farms. And it did more than that. I mean, after Fukushima happened, he installed these solar panels above his farm, and he was the first farmer. It's patented technology. And he was the first farmer in Japan to do this. And all of his farms are now, they have solar panels above them. He's providing alternative energy back to the community. And he's also growing, I think, mostly organic. Like he's pesticide free, and he's trying to become, I think, almost 100% organic, but he's very sustainable focused and sustainably minded. And I think for me, that was something I was really passionate about is, if I'm going to feed people with this product and we're going to consume it directly, this leaf should be, organic and pesticide free. And so we just really connected over that, shared.
I mean, it sounds like, he was the one in the area that knew the things you need to innovate to make change instead of hold on to the past and hope it's going to change. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
I love it. That's a great story. All right.
So we're still working with him, and it's been an
he's your only
journey.
Supplier?
Well, we have one other one, and we sort of have been connected and I stay in touch with other ones, but he really is our main at our cafes. He's the only matcha that we use, and he's so proud. I mean, he comes to the US, and he really loves the cafes, and he's even when can we do a franchise in Japan? And so I think it's really exciting. I was really grateful. I received the Global Tea Association in Japan awarded me the Pioneer Award in matcha for expanding like tea consumption outside of Japan.
Yeah.
So we've really, I mean, I think, we've done a lot to sort of expand matcha and awareness here in the US.
Yeah, it sounds like you single-handedly with your bike, like made matcha a thing, Thanks for, all the tweens, all the girl tweens of the world. Thank you. No, seriously. I mean, it's like, like you were out there, but, and that's just goes to show you, you're super passionate about it and you turned it into a business, something that you saw like a white space for, a blank space, and you made it yours. That's awesome. So you opened your first cafe actually that's not a pop-up. What did you say on Mulberry and
Spring, like in the heart of Nolita. That was actually, we signed that lease in COVID, and it was, slow. I mean, I was like, sometimes you don't know how these cafes are going to go, and we don't do a lot of the cafe is a little bit of the marketing, right? So I think for me, I'm not going to like put more money into marketing. Like the cafe is the experience. And I think we rely heavily on word of mouth. And I believe that there's a lot of power in that still. And so it took a while. All of our cafes are not overnight, right? We want you to tell your friend and bring your friend by and that friend to tell their friend. And I think there's power in that. But, there's also probably some cons of doing it that way.
Yeah.
But that's really how we've grown. And I think we've grown pretty organically here in New York. We haven't tried to spread ourselves too thin. We've taken, the right spaces that feel right for the brand, for the company. We have 7 locations now throughout New York City. And we have another one in Tribeca coming in the fall, hopefully fall.
I love it. That's where my dog will be. Yeah. So I was telling Hannah before, it's coming to this space that I used to love going to as a French cafe so I could take my dog in. And although now people let dogs in all the time, but and I would spend so much time because it's a great outdoor space, etc. So I'm super excited for that one. And where are the other ones in New York?
So the other ones are Prince and Sullivan in Soho. Another one's in the West Village. We have one in Brookfield Place. We have another one in East 54th in Midtown.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 in Brooklyn. So one in Williamsburg with a beautiful sort of patio and backyard. And actually we're going to be doing some really incredible things to transform and expand that space. We're actually going to be importing grinders from Japan. So we're going to be grinding matcha here in the US and building education and classes and around matcha. So really excited about that. That's coming probably early next year. And the goal is really to focus on New York. I think for us, it's it becomes unsustainable, right? And I think as a mother of 3, I'm I think you think about that a lot, right? How do I make sure that I'm focused on growing this company, but not in a way that's going to jeopardize my, the way I can lead or the way I can care for my people. And I think those are important things to think about, in the path to growth as a business. You have to think about your personal side too.
Yeah. So how many employees do you have now?
We have probably close to 90, including matcharistas in the stores.
Matcharistas, I love it. Because I'm sure, and that grew right since your first one opening, right?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. We've grown a lot.
But you still have wholesalers, or the wholesalers all around the United States now. Yeah.
Wholesalers are all over the US. Yeah.
And what are the other big markets in the US?
I mean, there's LA, which is definitely, I think that we East Coast is definitely, the demand for matcha is pretty high along the East Coast, including Florida and Miami.
Yeah.
I think, it kind of starts with coastal towns. I think even Austin, we have quite a few incredible customers that are in Austin. And I think we've seen such a high demand for ceremonial, like high quality matcha. I think people are starting to realize that there's a clear difference. And
Yeah.
that's how I started the business, was focusing on high quality matcha. It's more expensive, but I think, it's hard to go back to something that's not high quality. And I think when it comes to taking care of your body and people kind of avoiding alcohol and these other things these days, like, a $7 matcha doesn't sound as crazy anymore. So
Right.
I think it's really always been our mission to source very, very high quality, almost all organic products, and not change that, for anything.
Have you had to continue to raise money, or you're finding it's like self-sustaining business?
Well, I did. Yeah, I did raise, but honestly, we've been profitable. So whether or not we needed to raise, I guess, is a little bit of a question mark. I think we were, last year we got into a little bit of a tough place where we were, trying to grow and trying to keep up with the growth. And so we raised a small amount. We raised 2.5. And that's really it today. And we're really, again, we raised with investors that was like a boutique New York firm, and they were big customers. They were coming in like every day, and they were like, "Hey, do you need investors?" And
that is the best way, where you're not out there pounding the pavement trying to raise money when you need to be running the business, and somebody.
Well, and the other thing that I think is so important is finding investors that understand your concept, understand like why people love you, right? Like, because I think I was talking to these other investors at the same time, and they kept coming back to like, why matcha? And I'm like, if you don't believe in matcha, like, I don't know if I can like convince you. Like, I don't know what I can say. Like, you're at such different, parts of the journey. And like, I can't convince you to believe in this product, right? Like, you have to believe it yourself. And you have to believe that there's, real growth with this product. So I meet these investors that are kind of in the same place as us. It's like, you guys are doing great. Like, yes, there's things you got to improve, but like the core of what we do, like, it was very aligned.
Yeah. So. Right. No, it's great. That's the ideal way, right? Is like people who get it, you don't have to explain. And I'm sure those people are like, I'm sure we should have invested, but we don't really understand it,
Right. Yeah. No, I know. And, I wound up turning them down. It was, they were very smart and very like strategic finance guys, and I'm sure they could have added some value, but I kept being like, I don't want to keep answering this question. Like, I need you to sort of get on the matcha train, because this train is, it's moving, and we've got to be on the same page here, or this is like not going to be a good partnership.
No, of course. Amazing. That's awesome. Such a great story. And like, it feels like it was like 5 or 6 years of really like doing the research and testing, et cetera. And then like all of a sudden it's like hyper growth, but in a way that feels like not overboard, that it's like, oh, okay, like we know that there's a market for this, and literally every single sign outside of a coffee shop, it's like, they're not even talking about their coffee anymore. It's all matcha.
I know. Well, and I think too, like, even as we grow and look at spaces, my investors are like, if this space isn't right for the brand, don't do it. And they even said, like, if it's too far for you to commute, like, we get it, and don't do it. Like, do what feels sustainable and healthy for the brand. And I do think the brand, like, sort of keeping the brand really healthy is so important. So as you grow, I think it's more important than growth itself. So
what's the future? What's the next 5 years for Matchaful?
I think that we definitely want to keep growing the stores. I think, again, like, owning the experience that people have, I think, is something I want to keep leaning into. There's going to be more products that we come out with that are aligned with the mission of, consuming botanical ingredients, healthy botanical ingredients, not just matcha, but matcha with other. We're very creative in our cafes. You have to come. Haven't come. I'm happy to host you and your daughter, but continuing to sort of help even bring like an at-home experience that you could have in the stores, maybe at home. And yeah, continuing to grow these stores. It's not easy. But it's kind of the heart and soul of our company. And I think that it is working, and it's just a way to really reach people. So that's the focus is, owning New York, and hopefully, at the right time, expanding outside of New York. We've done some really incredible like celebrity collaborations. We worked with FK Twigs and Addison Rae and other incredible brands that are deeply aligned with us. And, definitely doing more of that, like authentic partnerships. I mean, these celebrities came to us and said, I love Matchaful and I'd love to do something with you. And so really incredible, like that we're sort of garnering that kind of like authentic collaboration and connection. And yeah, more of that for sure. And hopefully making the right decisions. So,
I mean, and I didn't know the L-theanine like connection with matcha, which I think it's so good. In particular, it's like, yeah, people are like, oh, well, it has caffeine in it, but it also has L-theanine for kids, which is like an anti-anxiety, natural, like calming, effect. So, I love that. But thank you so much for all of this. Oh, there you go. Right there. Of course, there's our matcha. I know. And it's so pretty too, right? It's like so gorgeous. So I know we have to let you go because you're very busy, obviously, but we do have one question for everyone that we ask at the end of this podcast. And that is, what is the worst advice you've ever received?
Ooh, so I think probably actually two come to mind. One is early on, I was told like, you need to have a business partner. You're not going to be able to grow this without a business partner. And at first I kind of listened to that advice. I started like interviewing people that maybe could be business partners. And I'm so glad I didn't bring anyone on. I got really close to actually bringing one on as a partner. And I don't think you need a business partner. I think you can grow and lead and build something incredible without a business partner, right? Like, sure, maybe there's like I'm sure that you can do it with, that's obviously, we've seen a lot of companies grow that way. But I also encourage women, like, if you have a great idea, don't listen to that. If someone's like, and you believe in yourself and you believe you can lead, like, there's going to be uncomfy moments. But I think ultimately it's kind of nice that in a way that I'm kind of the person in the business that cares the absolute most and gets to sort of make the tough calls. And not, and I think if you had a business partner that, equally cared as much, right, it would be really hard. I grew up with sisters, and I was a middle child. So like, I felt like I never really had a voice. And so I feel like in a way it's really given me a voice, and I'm very grateful for that.
It seems the purpose too. That's amazing.
Yeah. I think the other one is just kind of what I kind of kept going back to, of like, people will tell you how to grow your business, and people will tell you, grow faster, do this. And, just don't listen to that. Like, listen to yourself and listen to what feels right. I think, fundraising is really hard. And I think fundraising is something that, is not a necessity. I think, maybe sometimes it is, but I think for me, I took money when I really felt that it was the right money. And I think that I got scrappy, and I think I'm really proud of sort of how we've grown and haven't tried to like feel too much pressure, listen to pressure of grow, or raise more money, this and that. Yeah. So
good. So trust your gut, trust your instinct. Yes.
Yeah. Moral of the story. Trust your gut.
Exactly. All right. So people want to, so where should people look up online on socials, et cetera, to find you?
So Matchaful, we're on Instagram. Matchaful.com is our website. So you can, purchase products there. There's also like information about cafe locations and where to find us. I would always encourage you, if you're in New York, if anyone's in New York, to stop into our cafes and
yeah. Put that
say
on
hi to me.
those TikTok visits. I see them all the time. I actually love those things of TikTok in New York, what you need to go to. And I was like, wait, I've never heard of that place, and I live here. I love it.
I know, totally.
Well, Hannah, thank you so much for this. This is awesome. I'm super excited for you. I'm really excited to have one in Tribeca that is opening in the fall, which is around the time this podcast will come out. So it's great. And thank you to everyone listening to this episode of Taking Care of Lady Business. Until next time, I'm Jennifer Justice. Thanks to MedJet for supporting the Lady Business podcast. If you're hospitalized or your security is threatened while traveling, they can get you home. I'm a MedJet member and have been for years. Everyone who travels should be. Enroll before your next trip at medjet.com. Thanks for tuning in to Taking Care of Lady Business. Don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, and review. And also share this episode with a friend who needs that extra push to own their success. If you want more strategy stories and exclusive content, follow us on TikTok at Taking Care of Lady Business, on Instagram at thejustice.dept and Jennifer Justice L, or visit our website at thejusticedept.com. Taking Care of Lady Business is a production of Lady Business LLC.